All right, we have breaking news out of Ohio State. The big news today, Ohio State head coach Ryan Day naming Julian Sayin as the team's starting quarterback. The former five-star prospect, he beat out junior Lincoln Kienholz for the QB1 job in Columbus. Here is more from head coach Ryan Day.
Entire growth over 6 months, you see that there was a lot of growth made, and you look at the numbers and the production. We felt like he was in a situation where he was ready to go play in this game. We also feel like Lincoln's ready to play, but overall Julian was more consistent.
Danny Kanell with us now, our football expert. So Julian Sayin, not an easy task to start off his QB1 status at Ohio State, kicking things off on August 30th against the #1 team, Texas, at the shoe. Do you think that Julian was just the easy choice? It was a shoo-in for him, or did he really have to battle for this one?
Oh, I think it was a battle. I do believe Ryan Day. I mean, probably about 10 days ago, Ryan Day, he talked about consistency, right? It was interesting that he said that Julian Sayin was the more consistent quarterback, because just over a week ago, he said that's what it was lacking. He wanted somebody to step up in that position. Julian Sayin has been the guy with all the buzz. The minute that he made the decision to leave Alabama when Nick Saban retired and to step on campus at Columbus, the only things you've heard have been good about Julian Sayin. Now, saying that, it's easy to be the backup. Everybody loves you in practice. And I do think this is one of the best things, because the only thing, Jenny, you mentioned the pressure-packed environment that's going to be when he's facing Texas. Yeah. The only thing close to that is having to earn your job, making him feel like he's threatened and he's got to step up and feel that pressure. So I do think there was a reason. I do think it was close, and I do think it was a good thing that he stepped up and took hold of the reins finally. But I do think that we're at the point now where you've got to make it clear to the team they need to know who's the quarterback under center if it's the fourth quarter and we have a drive to win. They need to know who they're looking at, who their leader is. So I think this timing is about right where I'd like to see Ryan Day make that decision, and sure enough, he did.
It's interesting you bring that up, because Jeremiah Smith just came out a day or two ago saying that Ohio State's offense is finding rhythm with both quarterbacks. But how big of a plus is it that they now have named the starter? They can build on that connection with QB1 and Jeremiah Smith.
It's big too, Jenny, because Lincoln Kienholz is sort of a different style of quarterback. He's a little bit more mobile, and so they might have been running the ball more. So it's also important for Brian Hartline, the new offensive coordinator, to know what kind of game plan are we scheming up for Texas. And it's also important for those continuity, because when you do things in practice, a lot of times it's the ones, and you're practicing with the first team. And if you're rolling out a quarterback in there, you might miss key reps with Jeremiah Smith, so you lose the feel of where he likes the ball or what type of breaks that he comes out of certain routes. So you need as many reps as you can get in the first team, with the first team as you can get. I will say this, Jenny, I don't think it's the last we've seen of Lincoln Kienholz. Sure, maybe against Texas, they don't roll him out there. But if Julian Sayin doesn't, light it up, which I wouldn't, I would expect him to play okay. I don't think he's going to light it up for a first-year guy to do that and making his first start in that atmosphere. I do think you could see potentially a package like they used with Devin Brown, who left the program, in the last couple years. I do think maybe they have a package in goal line and short yardage situations for Kienholz that I wouldn't be surprised they use him in. But I think, and they've also played two quarterbacks before and let it go on if Julian Sayin doesn't take a hold of that job.
He has attempted 12 passes last season, 84 yards and a touchdown. And you mentioned this earlier. So Ohio State with the first-time play caller in Brian Hartline this year. So you think about the change for the Buckeyes in general. It's very different from a Will Howard, Chip Kelly to a Sayin Hartline situation. Yes. Just for the folks out there, what are we going to be seeing this year?
That's the thing that's crazy about this whole college football season. It's not only the Buckeyes, but it's so many teams have all these question marks, because you've got new offensive and defensive coordinators at Ohio State. You've got new quarterbacks. But at least with Will Howard, when he came in, you had a track record of him. He won a Big 12 championship. He had played a lot of football at the Power 4 level. Chip Kelly had experience playing elite level college football and the NFL. So you kind of had both of those coming in. He was a play caller before. Brian Hartline is new to this. This will be his first opportunity to be the guy that is calling the plays. So you pair that with somebody you've never seen play before in Julian Sayin. It's one of the reasons why I'm not backing the Buckeyes to just go back-to-back. I think it'll be a good year, but how can you expect them just to line it back up without any sort of regression? I think is a little bit naive.
It would be safe to say we can't exactly say what this team's going to look like after week 1 as well, because you're facing like a tall task when it comes to that week 1 game, but we will see how it all plays out. We have the news with Ohio State, but there are still quarterback questions around the league, and just taking a look at some of them here. For Michigan, it's just kind of a matter of when, if not. They announced that Bryce Underwood is going to be the starting QB over there. For Tennessee, the Vols announced that UCLA transfer Joey Aguilar is going to start week 1, replacing Nico. Notre Dame, Matt Zenitz is expecting Notre Dame to name a starting quarterback soon. And for Syracuse, we're looking at Notre Dame transfer Steve Angeli out there. But let's break down these a little bit more and dive a little bit deeper. Danny's on set with us, continuing this conversation. So let's start with Tennessee announcing that UCLA transfer Joey Aguilar will start week 1, replacing Nico. How do you see him fitting into that Vols offense?
Ooh, this is going to be a tough task, because remember the timing of when Nico left Tennessee. It was like during the spring game. It was right around that time. So he leaves, he goes to UCLA, which is where Joey Aguilar actually was. So he gets to Tennessee, and he's been, basically learning by a fire hose. Just, Josh Heupel's throwing that system at it, so he's trying to consume as much as he can, as he could as possible. And this is a pretty quarterback-dependent system. Yes, they want to run the football and be physical, but Josh Heupel wants his quarterbacks to be confident where they're throwing the football vertically down the field. So this one, my concern with Tennessee is I thought you were going to get a big jump forward with Nico. And then when he leaves, you're kind of back to square one, and you don't have Dylan Sampson, one of the best running backs in the SEC, in the backfield anymore. You don't have a defense, which was one of the better defenses in the SEC last year. So I think this might be one of those more rebuilding years, which in large part was due because of what unfolded at the quarterback position. It's
been an interesting QB room and a lot of movement over there for Tennessee. Let's talk about Notre Dame next, expected to name a starting quarterback soon. Kenny Minchie reportedly gaining some ground on CJ Carr over there. What factors will go into determining who will get that final spot?
So this one's surprising. I think most people thought it was CJ Carr's job, and I would tend to agree with that. But the fact that he hasn't been able to grasp it and take it by the horns, I think should be concerning. But I also think it does mean you're seeing some pretty good things from Kenny Minchie behind him. Jenny, I was at a golf tournament.
Oh,
okay?
you at a golf tournament?
Okay,
no.
This is in the off season when you can play some golf.
Okay.
And I ran into Jerome Bettis.
Okay.
And Jerome Bettis' son is on the Notre Dame roster. And we were talking, just like cutting it up in the locker room. And I said, hey, what are you hearing about CJ Carr? I think he's going to be pretty good. And he goes, I'm actually hearing about Kenny Minchie. Some of the players are talking that he has been popping in practice. He had been making some highlight-type plays, and he said, I wouldn't be surprised if this thing is more competitive. This was months ago. This was before their spring game. Then CJ Carr had a good spring game. I was like, oh, well, what does the bus know? The more you're hearing, the more that Minchie is making inroads, and I think it might be because of the difference in quarterbacks. Last year, Riley Leonard, the quarterback for Notre Dame, had 1,000 yards rushing, 17 touchdowns. And I thought Marcus Freeman and that Mike Denbrock, that offensive staff, they might have looked at that and said, you know what, that is a luxury to have a quarterback who is that mobile, can help your offensive line, really opens things for the run game with Jeremiah Love. I do think that that's the difference that Minchie brings to the table. He's more athletic, gets more done with his legs. If you've got both quarterbacks without experience, if you get into trouble and you're a pocket passer, you can get really exposed. If you get in trouble and you're a runner, you can get out of trouble and you can make something good out of it. I don't know if that's exactly what's going into play, but I do think this one is very interesting that it is not being clarified just yet. And this one might go down to the hours before kickoff before Miami.
The bus had a little scoop for you.
Yeah, how about that?
You go to a golf tournament, right? You don't expect to get.
I'm always working.
Oh, always working. When it comes to Michigan, it seems like it's just not when, but not if, but when.
Yes.
With Bryce Underwood. When is it going to be, though?
So I thought they were going to play this a little more cautious because they signed Mikey Keene, who was a multi-time transfer who started a lot of games. And Bryce Underwood is a true freshman. I know he got there in January, but he's still a very, very young quarterback. And
very wealthy.
Yes, exactly. He's got a lot of money in that contract that came with him. But I thought they would take their time and sort of, sprinkle him in, maybe play two quarterbacks early. Mikey Keene was injured. He did miss a lot of the spring. Bryce Underwood did play. And I wonder if Sharon Moore is just like, you know what? Not that the money comes into play, but this is the uber-talented young player. Let's just roll him out there to the Wolves, and let's see how it goes. Ultimately, what I think they do with him is use his legs, let him run. Again, talking about the way to help young quarterbacks. If you can run, that is a huge advantage. Call some of the quarterback run stuff. run the football, which Sharon Moore, as a former offensive line coach, loves to do, and just kind of hope that he doesn't mess things up too much. The only caution I have with that is a young quarterback's confidence. But I think Bryce Underwood may be just one of those unique guys who has, the ultimate confidence. A little bit of adversity won't impact him. Plus, I do think he gets a bit of grace because he is so young. People might expect him to struggle, and you just roll with him. So the back end of the season, when he's kind of had those bumps and bruises, then he's starting to play better. And then next year's the year you go in with a lot of confidence.
I'm going to put you on the spot for a quick second here. You really think money doesn't come into this at all?
Not this early. Now, I know a lot of them they do, in the transfer portal specifically, because you bring in guys and there's, it's like professional sports.
Yeah.
It comes politics, but money, it always comes into play. So I do think it has a part. That's why I didn't say Bryce Underwood wouldn't play at all this year.
Right.
We're definitely going to see him, and it looks like we're going to see him week 1.
It looks like it. Danny Kanell breaking down the quarterback battles in college football. Can't believe the season's right around the corner. Danny, thank you so much. For more in the world of college sports, you got to check out the Cover 3 podcast, their latest pod. Michigan sign-stealing penalties revealed, the latest. With all that, check it out wherever you listen to your favorite pods.